On this episode, we'll be listening to the fourth and final canto from my story, The Lay of Never Always. Enjoy.
The Lay of Never Always, Canto 4th, Autumn. In the great hall of the tower, by the cold and stormy ocean, many fires, great and cheery, roared like mighty men in boasting, giving warmth and light so needed as the days grew cold and shorter. Rich was decked the hall that evening with the gold and red of autumn, for the beauty of the tower, she, the daughter of its master, was to wed a knight at sundown, chosen for her by her father, by the master of the tower. For he thought the knight most worthy of his daughter and his tower, that its strength would not diminish when his soul departed from it. But the beauty of the tower did not love her chosen husband, cared not for his feats nor boasting, saw his heart was cold and savage as the metal of his sword blade. Greatly did she love another, who, when she was but a child, often had he been her playmate. But her father's word was final, and not even she could change it. Yet as often as she saw him, saw the knight that she must marry, she would sigh and turn her westward, toward the sea, and never always. Now the day was full upon her, when her hand was to be given, and she wept not tears of gladness, and she sighed not with contentment, and she thought not of her husband, but thought always of another. As the hour was drawing nearer, her attendant came and dressed her. Silken robes they laid upon her, gold in hue with deepest purple. On her brow they set a ringlet, unadorned but for a flower. Then, with solemn tread, she followed, like a prisoner to the gallows, down the tower to the great hall, where the knight was patient, waiting. In his eyes she saw no sparkle, saw no love, but for the power which this union would bestow him. But before she strode to meet him, she did sigh, and turning westward, did espy upon the great sea a lone ship with billowed sail, sailing east, straight for the tower. As she stared, the lookout entered, panting hard and eyes wide, fearful, ran unto the tower's master, flung his arm out toward the ocean. "There's a long-ship on the water," cried the lookout, voice a-quiver, "sailing swiftly on the west wind, making for this very tower, with a sail of gold and crimson, and a banner strange and gilded, flying gladly from the masthead. On the prow and stern 2 figures, strangely carven, yet I know them, for the same strange carven figures did adorn the very long-ship on which sailed away my brother, and the 12 adjudged unworthy to the shore of Never Always. Only 2 the ship now carries, 2 fell lords of Never Always, dressed in robes and armour splendid, one a star upon his forehead." Dread fell on the host assembled, most upon the tower's master. All recalled the dark oration of the hermit of the mountains, thought that doom was now upon them. Only one did not turn ashen, did not quake, and did not tremble, save for an excited tremor, she, the beauty of the tower. She, the bravest of her people. Rosy glowed her cheeks, once pallid, and her eyes shone with a brightness sadly absent since the springtime and the leaving of the long-ship. Fast she walked out of the great hall, left the groom and feast behind her, left the tower and her father, hurried to the nearby harbour, with the host in tow behind her, knowing not what doom awaited, knowing not how to avert it, gathered they upon the seashore, all eyes fixed upon the long-ship. In the harbour came the long-ship, swung about to show her broadside. Out leapt both the lords of Faery, landing safe upon the seashore. Bright their eyes and rich their raiment, filling all with awe and wonder, so that all the host drew backwards, all save the fearless maiden, she the beauty of the tower. She alone stood there to greet them, though her heart gave way within her, for she saw not who she wanted, and knew not these lords of Faery. Low she bowed before the strangers, and the host did quickly follow. "Welcome, lords of Never Always," said the beauty of the tower. "To what do we owe this honour, that you come from lands immortal and do grace us with your presence? And how came you by this long-ship, builded by our kith and kindred? exiled from the land of mortals, for great hope had leapt within me at the sighting of this longship, that some of the 12 did journey homeward, having proved them worthy. One especially I waited, one whom, when he was a child, often was to me a playmate. But alas, he came not with you. He is lost to me forever. Flashed the star-browed lord's eyes brightly, looked upon the tower's beauty, sang aloud an ancient chorus, taught him by the waves and tempest, by the roaring of the great sea, and the beauty of the tower knew at once who stood before her, knew the singer of the sea-songs. But the host which was assembled, seeing that he was no fairy, but an exile now returning, as the wizard had foretold them, feared the doom that he brought with him, knowing not the doom they dreaded was already there among them, long before the exile's sailing. Greater fear had none among them than the master of the tower, he who sent the 12 men sailing westward into Never-Always. And he turned and fled the seashore, sought the safety of his tower, for his courage was its greatest when the gate was locked and guarded. His retreat was not unnoticed, and the shipmate of the singer, who was for a time forgotten, had espied the master's turning, and quick leapt to follow after, giving chase right to the tower, where the gate was barred against him. But he did not cease his pounding till the gate was rent asunder. But the singer of the sea-songs gave no heed to flight nor chasing, gave no heed to host a trembling, only saw the tower's beauty, only beamed with love and gladness. And the beauty of the tower, she the boldest of her people, stood before him, shy and trembling, in the radiance of his beaming, cheeks aglow and eyes bright shining, with great tears of joy like diamonds. With his arms he did enfold her, held her tightly to his bosom, lightly kissed her lovely forehead, gently stroked her golden tresses. "How is it, my lord," she asked him, filled with awe and with amazement, "that you came to be a fey lord, dressed in robes and armour splendid, dressed as one of Never-Always? Tell what strange things did befall you in the land of the immortals. Tell me also how it happened that again you journeyed eastward, why you left the land of Faery to return to realms of mortals." He, the singer of the sea-songs, took her hand and led her slowly through the host upon the seashore, through the hovels toward the tower. And the host did follow after, save the knight who would have wed her. He was filled with fear and hatred of the singer of the sea-songs, and he fled unto the mountains. There was lost to all his kindred, and was never heard of after. As they walked along together, hand in hand, unto the tower, did the singer of the sea-songs tell his strange and wondrous story to the beauty of the tower. When at length the longship landed on the shore of Never-Always, and my shipmates in their splendour were arrayed upon the beach-head, each man chose on the horizon his own point to which to journey, and departed all in silence. Still I stood upon the white sand, glancing back across the ocean to the east and land of mortals, where I knew that you were standing, at your window in the tower, looking west to Never-Always. I sat out along the shoreline, ever sighing, always singing, knowing not where I was going, till I came unto a spire, rising up above the water, carved into this rock, still living. Fay had made a graceful tower, like a maiden standing, waiting for her love to cross the ocean. When I neared this fairy wonder, on the air came golden trumpets, and the gates were thrown wide open, and a host in radiant splendour issued forth with songs and banners, brightly dressed in silks and satins. On each head were silver ringlets, sweet and lilting were their voices, and their bearings all were stately. In the midst of the procession rode a lord upon a charger. Tall and fair appeared his aspect, and his eyes shone bright and fiercely, but a visage soft and pleasant gave a glow of warmth and kindness. Such the beauty of the moment that I wept at their approaching, overcome with awe and wonder. All at once I was surrounded by their faces and their voices. Like a wave I was enveloped, pulled down deep into their current, till I stood before the charger and the mighty lord of Faery. Still the current flowed round me like a sea of swirling faces, singing still with joy and laughter. Only still the lord and charger stood like rocks against the breakers, moving not, while all round us ebbed and flowed the host of Faery. With a bound so light and graceful he dismounted from his charger, and to my great awe and wonder threw his mighty arms around me. "At long last," he said unto me, "many long years I have waited, since the death of your poor mother, dead when you were but a child. Now, my son, I bid you welcome to your home and to your kindred, for though you are still a mortal, fairy blood does flow within you. Come inside, the feast is ready, food and wine and roaring fires, and you are the guest of honor." With these strange words he did lead me through the surging tide of fairies to the great gates of the spire, and inside a hall most splendid, overflowed with warmth and riches, finest foods and fires merry, and the fey host flowed round us, filling it with song and laughter. At the far end was a table, great and raised above the others. 2 great chairs stood in the centre, and to one I was conducted, and the elf lord took the other. Then he spoke long of my mother, of her beauty and her hardships, how her husband was a fisher and was lost at sea forever, how my mother, lost in grieving, stole a boat in hopes to join him, how this lord had found her drifting near the shores of Never Always, and her beauty overcame him. They were wed and lived together many years within that tower, but my mother, growing homesick for her kindred and her people, journeyed east again to see them. There she had a son, and tarried at the urging of her people. Loath were they to see her passing west again to Never Always, and sought ever to detain her, making always more excuses. And alas, a sickness took her, and she came not ever westward. I was strangely moved within me at the hearing of my mother, and I thought upon another who still lived in lands of mortals. Several days I held my counsel with myself within the spire. Then at length I ventured outwards to find all my lost companions, see if any were proved worthy by their mighty deeds and actions. Only one was counted worthy. He had been your father's watchman, and together we set eastward with my kin's and father's blessing, that I might come back and find you. When they entered in the tower, came to stand within the great hall, their great joy was mixed with sadness, for the watchman knelt in silence by the body of the master, fallen headlong and unmoving, and the host which came behind them cried aloud in fear and terror, and the watchman, rising slowly, turned to face the tower's beauty. "I had wished to pledge my service," said the watchman, weeping softly, "to the master of the tower. But a doom of his own making, his great fear, has brought his downfall. Fear it was of death that killed him. I laid not a finger on him. No, I pledge to our new master and his bride to serve forever. May they make our people stronger and our kindred more courageous by their life and their example, and make rich the blood of mortals with the blood of Never Always."